Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Friday night art along. I hope that all of you will post what you make during this art along in our Discord in the Art Alongs channel because I will be posting all kinds of things over there. Always think is important for all of you to take a look at is this photo here. I have this image. Does everybody see this big streak that goes down the middle? That is actually oil medium that I have wiped over the canvas. And you can see here, okay, so that is the part that you guys want to be looking at because I am going to do a layer of oil medium on top. So that way I can bring back the parts that have sunken in. This has sunken in. This has sunken in. That's a part of the painting that right now has lost its sheen. And so every time I come back to a painting and the entire surface is all over the place, like some parts have sheen, some parts are matte and have sunken in, adding a layer of oil medium with a rag is a really great way to get started. Tell me in the chat, everybody, how has your week been? What has been going on this week? I went to the eye doctor. Very important as an artist to be maintaining those eyes. You can see here I am adding oil medium, putting it right into the cloth like this. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to go in and rub it into some of the spots. Yeah, wow, a whole bunch of places have sunken in. Has anybody seen this technique before? Because I didn't learn about this until, oh, actually, I should make sure it's dry. Okay, yeah, that's pretty dry. It really helps with glazing because what it means is that you basically get a layer of oil on top of the entire piece. And having a layer like that, you're already setting yourself up to work with transparency. I'm just leaning down because it's a little hard for me to see, but I'm going to just wipe this everywhere. Oh, good. I'm so happy. Oh, gosh, the whole neck area totally sunk in. I guess I got to really go to town with this because the issue is if your colors are sunken in, you're not seeing them at their true vibrancy because they'll look very dull, and this prevents that from happening. I like doing this. It just makes the painting look prettier and shinier. Yeah, that whole lower left-hand corner needs quite a bit. You're bringing back the sheen. Let's see. Get some in the green. I learned this from Tony Janello, who I had senior year at RISD. I was in his portrait painting class, and he has been so important to me over the years as a mentor. All right, now if I take a photo of that spot that I had a before and after picture of, you guys will see that it no longer has that difference. Let me show you what that looks like in the Discord, because I think this is a pretty helpful technique that has made a big difference for me. Okay. Hopefully, my computer wants to load. Maybe if I navigate to another channel. Here we go. Well, let's compare the two images. Okay, does everybody see the streak that goes down the middle? This is oil medium. Everything around it has no oil medium rubbed into it. Now, if I come here, does everybody see how it's all even? That's the difference. You can visibly see the stripe here. Here, I have all the oil medium everywhere, and it just evens out that surface really nicely. And looks like we already have Lisa is posting doodles are going to happen in that sketchbook. And another thing I'd like to do as well, everybody, is show off our community because we're amazing. And I'm going to be coming into some of these other channels. Like, for example, a very popular channel in our Discord is the show and tell channel. And this is where people can just share their work. There's no critique involved. It's a great place. We call it one of the mods had a phrase that was really cute. It had to do with praise. Anyway, come into show and tell because you'll get support and praise from the community. Good question here from Jennifer. Do you need to add color to the oil medium? You could if you wanted to, but I just put it in straight because I'm going to put glazes on top. For me, that makes it not necessary to add the color. And a great reminder to everybody, if you have a question you'd like to ask me, please type question in all caps. It will make it easier for me to see your question. And if I miss your question, feel free to post it again. Lisa's asking, why does the previous layer develop differences in sheen? Is it something to do with varying oil medium amounts in the previously applied paint? I don't know for certain, but it probably has to do with, well, I could be just making this up, but maybe the way the oils sink, the oil medium that's in the paint, like some of the paint has no medium in it at all. And I would assume that that probably would be the one that would sink in a little bit more. Sinead says, I find it hard to oil paint sometimes because of glare and gloss. It's hard to see the colors after a few hours of work the next day. Have you ever had the same problem? Oh, yes. Oil paintings are hassle because of that glare, and they're a huge pain in the butt to photograph for that exact same reason. You have to get lighting which is not direct. If you guys look, I posted a picture of it in general chat. Actually, I can pull it up right now. Wow, this is really helpful to have Discord pulled up. I posted earlier in general chat a view of my studio, and you can see this is the lamp that I have. It's a Genere lamp. There's a link to it in the description, and you can see it has a lighting umbrella. The lighting umbrella is extremely helpful because it diffuses the light and prevents the light from being so straight on. It really just spreads the light out really well. Sometimes it could be that you have a direct light going on top, in which case the glare would be very dramatic. Usually, if you take the light and you point it up at the ceiling, then it's not going straight onto your painting. Tell me in the comments, everybody, how many of you have specific setups for lighting in your studio? Because I know that that is something which is quite common. We have a question again. Neil says, what exactly is, quote, sunken in? Why do we need to add oil medium? It's just distracting. If you have a painting where part of it is really glossy and the other part is super matte, it's like you can't see the painting clearly and you want everything to even in. I find it distracting because then I feel like I'm not seeing the color at its full vibrancy. And adding that layer of oil medium on top allows me to do that. Okay, let's get back into the painting. I gotta think a little bit, everybody. And I'm very excited because you know something? I got an iPad. It's not a new iPad. Actually, it was my kids. Stopped using it. But I thought to myself, wow, this is going to be so easy. I can see the reference. It's so gigantic. Why did I not get one sooner? I cannot explain that. But I am so happy to have the iPad now. And of course, I'm holding the iPad in place with a kneaded eraser. Okay, let's step back and we're just going to look at the painting and we're going to make a plan. I think a lot of these reds maybe got a little bit too dark. I feel like there's not a lot of middle grays. It's either really bright or pretty dark. I feel like I want more of that difference. It could be maybe a gray that has red in it, like a maroon gray. And maybe I add a little tint of Viridian and make it more a medium tone, something like this. Like there's too much of that going on. I do really need to fix the hand though. I want to work on this, but you know what? Not going to do it. I'm going to work on the hand and the neck because, oh gosh, they need a lot of work. I think I'm going to, maybe I should brighten the hand. Okay, let's do some color mixing. And I'm sorry, everybody, I do not have a third camera to show you my palette. Someday I will try to figure out how to make that happen. All I can say is this setup is complicated enough. And by the way, everybody, I am using Winsor & Newton Art Guard. This is a barrier cream, and you put it around your hands so that way the oil paint is not right on top of your skin. Oh, my mic doesn't like me. Hang on, I have to adjust it. Another reason why I don't want to deal with another camera. Okay, so we're going to go for a green in here. It's so much red. Need to get rid of that. Okay. This is the palette that I'm working with. We have Viridian, Ultramarine, Cerulean Blue, Cadmium Yellow, Yellow Ochre, Cadmium Red Light, Alizarin Crimson, Burnt Sienna, and Burnt Umber. That's classic Clara palette because when I'm learning a new technique, in this case, solvent-free oil painting, I don't like to have a million changes. Maybe I can hold this a little bit. So at the very least, you can see what I'm putting together. I know not ideal, but let's do it. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of white. Tell me if this is okay. I know it's not ideal, but I know some people were asking about seeing my palette better. We're going to add some cadmium red. We're going to mix it to like a medium color. Maybe I should get like another. Oh, you know what I could try? Maybe I could put it on my palette and mix because I'm going to be mixing for a little while. Hang on one second, everybody. I got to take a look and see if this is actually viable as an option. Give me a sec. Talk amongst yourselves. Who is more of a diva? Burnt sienna or burnt umber? I'm going to say, well, I was thinking burnt sienna because burnt sienna is brighter. But the thing is, I think burnt umber is more like Greta Garbo or something. Very mysterious. All right, we're going to try this, everybody. And you tell me in the comments if this is a more ideal way for you to see my palette. Maybe I should zoom in. Hang on a sec. This is what you have to deal with on a live stream. You just have to make adjustments. Oh yeah, maybe that's okay. Because I am going to sit here. I'm just going to mix for a little bit. Okay, hopefully that's better. So all of us can see. I feel like if burnt umber was a Hollywood actress, burnt umber would be Marlena. Oh no, Greta Garbo. That's who she would be. Burnt sienna would be more like, I don't know. Think of another Hollywood actress who's a little more perky. Maybe Katharine Hepburn. Maybe that's who it would be. Okay. I'm trying to mix a medium maroon with a little hint of viridian. Let's get a little more cadmium red light. Oh yeah, this does help. Well, because sometimes I'm just mixing here or there, but I'm like mixing. I'm trying to pre-mix a whole bunch of colors in advance that I can then move into the piece. I think it looks okay. You tell me in the chat if you like being able to see my palette like this. Because then you can see my palette knife action. Okay, so you can see that's like a middle gray. Now let's add a little bit of viridian, because the viridian to offset the red, because red and green are complementary colors. And I might mix some gradients here so that way we have another version that's a little bit darker. Not enough viridian. Let's add a little more. You notice I add paint in very small increments. Usually if you mix with gigantic blobs, it can be problematic because the more paint you add to the mixture, the more you have to add to make any impact. And before you know it, you have this horrible, gigantic blob that is very difficult to control. Okay, so it's a little more purple than I want it to be, but let's leave it. Now I'm going to take a piece of this. I'm going to start a new mixture over here. I do like to clean up a little bit. I'll just come in with my razor scraper. Oops, make a little more room. Actually, I can get some of that off here. Okay, now in this mixture, I'm going to add more cadmium red light. For real, I might just sit here and do this for at least 45 minutes. It takes time. Who here pre-mixes their colors? Who here mixes on the fly? Who here does a little bit of both? I do mostly pre-mixing. I might do a little later, but if I'm making a really subtle change, I'll do it with my brush. But I also don't paint very thick, so I think that's okay. The issue with mixing with your brush is that your brush can get very clogged up. And then when you go to paint, there's all this junk in it. So tell me in the chat how many people here mix with a brush, how many people have never heard of palette knife, which is fine, but it's a really fantastic tool. It just keeps your brushes from getting all nasty. Okay, you can see the addition of that cadmium red has now made it darker in value. And it is important to recognize, what are we looking at in the shift of color? Are we looking at a saturation shift? Yes, we are, because if we look at this color here, you can see that this color is more muted. It's a little bit more gray. This one is brighter because I added very saturated straight out of the tube cadmium red light. Now this is too saturated. I don't want something to saturate. I want some gray, so I'm going to put in some viridian. And because red and green are complementary colors, that will then dull the green. I want a lot more. I feel like I want something that's almost gray. I don't know. It's starting to turn really purple, though. If it's too purple, I might end up adding some yellow because yellow is complementary of purple. And tell me in the chat, how many of you here feel like you know nothing about color theory? How many of you feel like you know some? How many here feel like, oh, yes, I got a pretty good grip on that? Because color is such a huge topic. And I know a lot of people will say to me, yes, I want to improve my color, but oftentimes how to make that happen is quite difficult. Oh, you know what I should show everybody? Give me a sec. I want to do another one. It's related to learning color. All right, I took another batch. So does everybody see how this works? You mix a batch, you put some here, you add some stuff, you put some here, you add some stuff. And so this way I'm building mixtures on top of each other. And I'm not having to say, oh, mix this from scratch, mix that from scratch. I'm going from mixture to mixture, and I just find that a lot more efficient. Okay, so this one has a lot of rhodium. It is turning very purple, though. I think I need to add a little yellow. I don't want it to be so purple. I guess it's because the Viridian does have a lot of blue in it. Viridian is a very bluish green. Yeah, that's really purple. Okay, so purple is the complementary color of yellow, and therefore, yes, I'm going to use yellow ochre because yellow ochre is much more neutral. I feel like this is maybe a little too strong, so we're putting in a little bit of yellow ochre to offset the purple. And let's see where this takes us. Just really trying to cut down on the blue that's in here. Okay, that's getting a little dark. I might mix up a lighter version of that. But see, now it's not so purpley, feels a little more orange, and I'm going to add a little bit more yellow ochre. Again, very small quantities. Color really frustrated me, as you all know, for a really, really long time. I don't think I'm great at it, but I think I'm decent. I think I get it. The basics. I'm not a color expert like Lauren, but I feel like I do know the ropes. Okay, I'm going to move this up here, and that way I can make more room on my palette for more mixing. Before I start painting, I really like to have my palette nice and clear. Okay, I think these are a little bit dark. I'm going to come in and we're going to take some of this and we're going to add a little white. Not a lot, but I just want it to be not quite so dark. So this is a value thing. What I'm doing right now, this doesn't have anything to do with color. This is just value. Also looks really purple. I think I need more yellow ochre. So I know this looks very tedious, you guys, but this is what it's like. You can't mix a palette in 90 seconds, as they will tell you on TikTok and YouTube. It doesn't happen. It's slow, but you know something? I could do this all day. I love mixing colors. Tell me in the comments if you like mixing colors as well. If you don't mind that it takes forever, because I don't mind. I'm okay with it. Okay, so we have this color. This is a little bit lighter. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to take a little piece of this, and we're going to add quite a bit of white because I'm trying to change the value. I'm not trying to change the brightness. Ugh, it's really pink. Okay, we need more Viridian. Let's see. So I can certainly keep it on my easel when I'm doing a lot like this. Gosh, it's so purple. Maybe the Viridian is not a good idea. Maybe I should have used the cerulean. Let me try the cerulean, because cerulean has a lot of, oh, this is a little dry. Cerulean has a lot of yellow in it, so maybe the cerulean will make it a little easier. Oh, God, that is way too powerful. I always forget that Gamblin has such, oh my God, did you see that? It just turned all blue. That is not, oh my God, that's really bad. Okay, that's why you shouldn't add big quantities. I mean, it's also that this cerulean blue has a lot of phthalo in it. So now you can see for me to pull that back, I got to dump a big quantity of cadmium red light. Let's do a little refill up here. We're going to bring this back. do you see how strong that was? It was like this bomb that just went blue everywhere. This might bring it back. And it might get rid of... Oh, that's nasty. What the heck? Ugh. That has like no red. The red did like nothing. Gosh. That's cerulean blue. It gets me every time. Oh my God, look at that. It's so blue. Okay, we need like a lot of cadmium red light. See, this is where I'm starting to get bigger quantities of paint. And so I have to add more cadmium red light in order for it to have any kind of impact. Okay, so we're going to get some of this in here. Maybe this will do it. Okay, at the very least, it's starting to look a little more purple. We're going to add even more of this and maybe a little bit of yellow ochre. Tell me in the comments if you find this useful, watching me think through and reason through the colors, because I think for me, that's when color mixing started to make more sense, is when I could reason my way through, oh, why would I add blue? Why would I add yellow? Ugh. I think I shouldn't use the Viridian. I think the Viridian is way too much blue. And now it's really dark. Okay, we're going to pick it up. We're going to move it down here. And I'm going to split it up. We're going to put a little bit here. And we're going to put a little here. So we're dealing with smaller quantities again. And let me add some white into both of these mixtures so I can get more of a brighter range. Yes, Lisa, I'm mixing these for the colors that are in the neck, because the neck I've totally ignored a lot. I'll take a break in a minute to answer questions, but that's what I'm doing right now. It's all skin tone. I'm not doing anything else. It's just right now in the painting, I have too much dark colors and light colors. I don't have a lot of in-between colors. So when I'm mixing right now, it's like tinted gray more what I'm doing. I feel like I want, let's try the Viridian. I'm lazy. I don't want to mix. We're going to add more Viridian. It's getting there. It's just I want a slight green tint to offset some of the pinks that are in the neck. Okay, this one too. Oh, there's crap in here. Buddy has not been hanging out with me very much in my office, but he definitely got into my paint. There we go. And I know this looks absurdly time-consuming, but it's so worth it, because then when I'm done mixing, I can just paint, not worry about mixing anything. I'm going to add a little bit more white to the bottom one, so we have one that's a little bit brighter, and then the top one, I'm going to add some more Viridian. Okay, so this one's going to be here because I want a lighter gray. Don't want everything to be so dark. Okay, yeah, that's better. Okay, now the top one, I'm going to see how far I can push the Viridian. I'm not sure. That was not enough. Let's do one more. It's too pink. Everything's too pink in the painting. I need more green. I think it's just going to turn gray, which is fine. I don't want all that red. The red is kind of killing me right now. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do, I know this is absurd. This isn't even that much. Like normally, I think I would do this for a very long time. Let's do one that has like a lot of viridian. Let's see what happens there. We're going to really push the green. I want more. That's not really enough gray. So I have some grays. Some of them are purpley pink. Now I'm adding the opposite, which is the viridian, to push the gray to be a little more green. Geez, the viridian's not very strong. I thought I added a lot, but it didn't have a huge impact. Okay, that is starting to look more green. Yes, that's what I want. Okay, nice. Good, good. Good. Oh, I really like that. Okay, right. One more thing. We're going to do one more here, and it's going to be all viridian with just a little touch of this. I do that a lot where I generally take mixtures from each other. So again, I'm not painting from scratch. Okay, so this one, this gray is super green. That'll be a nice... I might want... Oh, you know what I'm going to do? Oh my gosh, I have it, everybody. I'm going to do this and mix it in here. Because I was thinking, oh, I need one that's a little bit lighter in value. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Okay, good, good. So now we have a broader range of value. You can see this is now a dull. All right, that's cool. I will take a photo of this and I'm going to post it in the Discord so everybody can take a look at the mixtures. Because this color mixing thing, not fast. All right, this is going into the Discord. All right, let's see. I think a bunch of you have questions for me in regards to color mixing, because there's no end that we can talk about color mixing. Jen, you read my mind. Because you know something? We have some people in the Discord who are making wonderful progress on the tracks. If you go in here under Art Prof Tracks, click here, and you can see we have a whole bunch of people working on it. And this is from Fortarian, who is doing the color track. This is lesson 3. And this is where it's Lauren's project, which is painted paper collage. And so basically you take the pieces of paper and you paint them with patterns and colors, and you collage them together to create a scene. And you can see really nice work, blue in the background, orange down here at the bottom. Really great work with complementary colors. And people in this channel, they're doing all different kinds of things. Like here's another one by Fortarian. This is part of the color track, which is to do complementary color painting. Beautiful, vibrant colors back there. And then we also have other people who are doing the various lessons. Like this is the white on white still life from the painting basics track. And this is by Butter, who is here live with us in the chat. And Butter, you did such a great job with this. I just love how there are really big bulbous forms. You have this almost dress-like surface. You have things that are a little bit more sparkly. Really great job, because you know something, that painting track lesson, white on white still life, half of that process is setting up the still life. People think it's the painting part, but it's actually the still life part. And then D is doing these 10-minute cat drawings. So much personality. And I especially love all the strokes going in different directions. And D has been doing a whole bunch of these. Here are also some more. I love how he's so perfect loaf. Fantastic. If anybody here decides you want to work on the track, you want to get better at color, just go to artprof.org. And the best way for you guys to find something is if you say you want to find the color track, just come into the search bar. That's the fastest way if there is something you want to find. So this is lesson 6, lesson 2. Here it is, color chart, color track. And so every single page has a lesson. There's video lessons. There's written content in here. We give you everything you need. Like you can even come here, and these are people who have done the color track in the past. And so you can see how other people have done the lesson as well. Really fun. Yeah, this is Neil's. Neil, I believe, is here live in the chat. Yes, you are. Thank you for being here. All right. Let's take a look at what else people are saying in the chat. Remember, if you have a question, type question in all caps. Manette is asking, can anyone recommend a super opaque white ink? Probably not too expensive. Can you say what kind of ink, Manette? Because there's acrylic ink, there's drawing inks, all kinds of different types of white inks. Let us know and I can help you out with that. Tolly says, got my first camera. Setup in my area is not great, but had to work with it. I mean, that's how you start. I think that's great because you know something, as much as it is amazing that everybody has their own phone and you can take a picture so quickly, there is something to be said about having a camera like a point and shoot or my DSLR, whatever, because I'm in a different mindset when I'm using my DSLR. In fact, I slow down quite a bit. I take more time to focus. I'm not good at it, but sometimes I'll change some of the settings. iPhone, I don't do any of that. And I do think there is value, if you can afford it, to get a camera like that. So you have a very different experience. In fact, I know a lot of people right now are shooting with film. They're going back and doing it the old-fashioned way, where, remember everybody, you could only have 24 pictures or 36 in a roll. And so when you go out and you take photos, you can't just snap away like crazy. You're like, oh, I only have 15 left. I have to be very intentional about it. You kids who grew up with digital photography, you have no idea how great you have it. Being able to preview a photo, being able to shoot 50 and delete all of them and not worry about paying to process all those. Yes. Who remembers that? Raise your hand. If you remember driving to CVS to pick up your photos, that's what we all did. We've got some great suggestions for Manette. Everybody, thank you for helping each other. It's incredibly helpful. Oh, good. I'm glad that the view of the palette is helping. And Sinead says, I mix as I go, but if I get frustrated with my colors, pre-mixing does help me stay on track. Often I mix too many colors together. Yeah, I just feel more focused because I'm like, okay, now I'm color mixing. And later on, I'm thinking about the brush. It does, for me, structure that process a little bit better. Jen says, I feel like I understand color theory, but then when I go to do things like mixing, it still never comes out like I intend. That is going to be the case for a long time. How many people here feel that their skill set is behind what they want? Like what Jen's saying, understanding color theory, but feeling like your skills don't quite align with your understanding. I think that's anybody who's ever learning anything. You're always going to feel like your skills are behind, but you know something, it has to start with you knowing that thing. So Jen, the fact that you know some color theory, it's all about getting those things to line up. And the way to get things to line up is to do a lot of practice. Yes, Nancy, you understand me and the color mixing. Rod says, I know enough to know I don't know enough, but I think I do and I'm working. You know something, though? That is a very important place to get to. A lot of people have told me that when they find us, they start learning about all these things that they didn't even know existed. And that a big part of their education is just exposure to a lot of different things. And that's what I've worked very hard to provide. So we are not a channel that teaches you how to paint Benedict Cumberbatch in acrylic paints. I mean, maybe there's a channel like that out there, but I don't want to be that channel. I want to really expose everybody to a lot of things. Then you step back and you ask yourself, okay, is there something here I really want to master? But huge part of being an artist is just knowing what's out there. And I know before I went to art school, I had no idea what was out there. And I learned about so many things I had no idea existed. Like I'd never heard the word industrial design. That wasn't in my language. I live with all kinds of pieces of industrial design, but I had no idea it was like an art form. DJ Poopy says, color is only theoretical for me. Okay, yeah, everybody has such a different take on colors. Selena says it's satisfying. W315, never find this boring. We also have Jen, who says, a thing I found that people do, and I used to be guilty of this, is people will say darker when really they mean saturated. Oh, that's really confusing. Okay. Well, it begins with you have to understand what's the difference. Okay, this is value, this is saturation. And you have to learn how to separate them. I think sometimes it just becomes, oh, I need to change the color. But a lot of the times it's looking at the color and say, you know what? I don't need to change the saturation, but I do need to make it a darker color or vice versa. Yes, I feel betrayed. But the thing is, I've been betrayed multiple times, Neil, and it keeps surprising me. It keeps hiding itself from me. I feel very extra betrayed. Also, we have a question from Jane. Paint consistently is Gamblin out of the tube like cream cheese. Do you add oil to thin for glazes and dry brush for earlier layers? Jane, could you follow up and confirm whether you mean Gamblin as in the brand Gamblin or something else? If you are talking about Gamblin, it does not come out like cream cheese, at least the ones that I've used before. Any oil paint that came out like cream cheese would make me upset. I think Michael Harding oils, they're like a nice, soft, buttery. It's not butter at room temperature. It's a little bit harder than that. But I do really like that consistency. Whitney says, if you can explain how you use thinner or binder and when and why, how much and what kind of type or brand do you use? Well, in this case, I am using, hang on a sec, I have to go up and find it. You can all think about joining our Discord because our Discord is the place to be. I have a bunch, actually. And warning, this might take a little bit of time to explain in a way that is not super confusing. What I am using is from Gamblin, and this is solvent-free fluid. This is safflower oil-based medium, which means that it doesn't create fumes. Because this is specific to solvent-free oil painting, I just use it straight. I don't mix it with anything. What I do recommend, though, not a lot of people do this, get a little plastic squeeze bottle. I have found this absolutely important. Have you guys seen a lot of people have those palette cups? It's like two little metal cups, and they have it near their palette, and they put the oil medium inside the palette cup. And the idea is that you would take your brush and you would dip it into the cup to get the medium on your brush. But the thing is, once you've dipped your brush into a palette cup 3 or 4 times, the oil medium gets really dirty. Now, in the squeeze bottle, when I put it onto my palette or my brush, every time it goes onto my palette, it's perfectly clean. That's why I don't like the palette cups very much, because it just gets really muddy really quickly. Now, there are other things you can get, and again, it depends on the technique. Somebody got me this week. Thank you so much. I unboxed it on a recent stream, and it's really, it's so oily. I was like, oh man, this is not good packaging. But anyway, this is by M. Graham, and this one is walnut oil. This one is also specific to solvent free. Okay, I'll explain real oil paint in a minute. And I should try this. It says pure alkali refined oil pressed from American walnuts, extends oil color for increased flow, non-yellowing, slow drying. Okay, that's another one. This one, again, straight out of the bottle. I'm not doing that. Now, if I am doing traditional oil painting, I do have a recipe, and it's on our page on artprof.org. If you just type oil painting in there, it'll take you to that page. I use 1 part linseed oil, 1 part stand oil. Stand oil is a very thick, honey-like version of linseed oil, which has been heated, and then 3 parts solvent. Since that's real oil painting, solvent would be something like Gamsol. They used to use turpentine. We don't use that anymore because it's really, really bad for you. And the purpose of the oil medium, it's really about increasing the flow. If I take my palette right now and I put my brush into these colors, the paint is not going to flow very well. It's going to be very, very stiff. Oftentimes, I will put just a little bit in just to loosen the paint. But if I'm glazing, I'll have a nice puddle of the oil medium, and I'll put just a little bit of paint into it. So that way it's a very, very thin glaze of paint. Hopefully that gives you, at the very least, a little bit of a primer, Whitney. Okay, so Minette is following up. Plan is to use the white ink to line an illustration, so acrylic ink would work because I can use brush for it. Guess I'm not sure the difference between acrylic and drawing ink. Drawing ink is super weak. It's very, very thin, does not have a high pigment load. I feel like you'd be better off using gouache. Like, are you using it to clean up some of your lines? Or is it like opaque white lines on top of a colored area? Because gouache, you may be able to get a little more control. The thing about the acrylic ink is the white is runny. It's not super opaque. So if you're looking for opacity, gouache would probably be better. If you're doing something that's not super refined, a paint marker could also work. But yeah, drawing inks, I don't like them. I think acrylic inks are way, way better. Okay, so Jane's following up. Okay, Gamblin brand, just trying to understand paint consistency without thinking lean fat, which boggles my mind. Thin, oily, or thick, buttery. I know it's confusing. The main thing, underpainting, very, very thin and transparent. Build it slowly. Your first layer should not be a giant dollop of thick paint, because that is going to take forever to dry. That's the main thing. I don't think we have to be super scientific about it. You'd have to talk to a conservator to be really exact about what would happen. But I think in general, as long as you're not doing something like that, you're probably okay. Courtney says, jelly roll pen, very opaque, but trick is to draw very lightly. You know something? I never really liked those jelly pens. Maybe I'm using them wrong, but I found them to be really wimpy and inconsistent in terms of the line. Maybe those of you who have used different markers and pens can weigh in on that. Maybe there's a magical jelly pen that I don't know about, but the ones that I've used are just so wimpy. They were very frustrating for me to work with. Okay, Jennifer has the walnut oil made by M. Graham. The top smashed into the bottle. In my supplies, I lost it all. Oil was on everything. Ugh, that sounds terrible. Yeah, maybe I will put it in a different container. And by the way, everybody, remember, you can post your stuff into the Art-alongs channel. And that will be where I will give people shout outs on what is happening. For example, Butter is trying out a 15-stroke challenge. Oh, that's a nice juicy pear butter. Oh, doesn't that look so plump? I really want to grab that right now. Fantastic. Harry C., continuing to work on crosshatch studies, seeing where I can push it. Oh, that is so dense. Wow, that is beautiful, Harry. I've been thinking a lot about Edward Gorey recently because I'm trying to see if I can go visit the Edward Gorey house when I'm in Rhode Island in February. Lisa says, penguins vacationing. I love that you're continuing with these penguins, Lisa. That is so fun. Yeah, and you can see here, everybody, there's a whole conversation happening in here as well. And I want to give a couple shout outs to some people in our show and tell channel, which is, again, come here to get praise and support. And we have here Garden Wife, line art with gold acrylic marker. Let's take a look at that. Oh, that's a beautiful combination. I always think about gold paint marker as being sort of obnoxious, but I think the way that the painting has so many oranges, it really lets the gold sink into it a lot better. Like here, it almost looks like the paint marker is watercolor. Really beautiful work. I just love seeing all this stuff. Tiffany has been working on this piece. Oh, that is so fun. I really love how the tongue is way off to the side. It's way funnier than if it were down the middle. He looks very bulbous. Great job, Tiffany. Oh, and this is Sarah, who started this painting during the painting marathon. And wow, you have come a long way. Look at that. You've got incredible detail going on in here, Sarah. Oh, it's so satisfying to see people start things in the Discord and then watch their progress. This is from Deadhead. And oh my gosh, look at all these materials. Let's take a look. Oh, wow. That is a beautiful glow to it. Oh my gosh. Really cool to see all these different supplies. And I wonder if this is a light bulb in there or if that's just light on the object. But that has a wonderful ethereal feeling to it. Remember, everybody, that is where you can go to share your stuff. Okay, we're going to start painting again. I'm going to put my palette down. I like how we're 1 hour into the stream and I haven't even painted anything just yet. Okay, let me change my camera because I adjusted it earlier. Okay, we're going to really work on that neck. And again, this is the reference. Everything is in the video description below, everybody. So if you're looking for the supplies, if you want to get the reference, I also made a page for the painting marathon, and that does consolidate everything that is from the marathon. I also made playlists for some of those areas. Okay, let's get in. I'm going to stick with a pretty coarse brush because this guy, Ken, He's a model I used to work with at RISD. The skin in this piece is not meant to look smooth. Okay, right now I am going to take the oil medium and I'm going to drop it onto my palette so I loosen some of the paint. Okay, I think I'm going to start. I'm going to start with one of the darker grays. Just put in a couple strokes and let's just see how it looks, and I can always make adjustments. I really like how the iPad lets me zoom in and out. Oh wow, that's really dark. I think I need the lighter one. I'm trying to brighten things up a little bit in terms of value. I'm going to do it a little bit thin because I don't want to paint over things as much. Okay, there we go. That's better. Specifically, there's this one vein back here that really pops. Need to bring that back. So you can see this is brighter, it's less red, and it's also less saturated. We're trying to get in some spots so that I don't do that so much. This brush is too small. I need a bigger one. Yeah, this is a brush. I gave it a haircut. It's a little coarse, but it actually is a pretty good match when I want to do something that feels coarser. Okay, I in general just prefer to paint thin. Oh wait, wrong brush. Actually, I'll stick with it. I changed my mind. No, I need the big brush. Does anybody else feel indecisive when you paint? I don't think I ever feel decisive. It's always like, okay, let's try this. Oh, it didn't work. Let's do something else. And you know something? I feel like every creative person I've interacted with says some version of that. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try something else. It really is what it's like. I just think there's this conception that when you become a professional of something, you have it all figured out. And that is not true. Tell me in the comments, those of you who have professional lives in a field that is not art, do you have it figured out? 100%. I sort of think you don't. And especially in some fields, there's such a learning curve because, I mean, if you think about just medicine, oh, I don't like this brush. It's too hard. I mean, if you have your medical degree, that doesn't mean you can stop paying attention to medical innovations and how much things change in your lifetime. So while, yes, there are circumstances where, yeah, you have a good basis of something, it does not mean that you stop having to learn and try things and just go, okay, whatever, let's see what happens. So much of the process is doing stuff like that. Yeah, like in here, this got really dark. I'm going to try a more pale pink. The name of today is mud. That's what we're trying to do. Muddy things up and brighten things. Some pretty pronounced wrinkles in here. You can see that does change the neck. The neck needs a lot of work. Oh my God. It's hard because there are these wrinkles that go this way, but then he has veins that go that way, and that's very tricky to know how to deal with. You can see right now the strokes are extremely visible, but I don't want them to stay that way. And actually, I'm going to add a little bit of a light blue to this because I think I need more value. Here, we're going to just brighten things up a little bit. Again, that's a value issue. That is not a color thing. Yeah, it definitely needs more bright. So here I'm bringing in some blue highlights. You know something also, this spot here is very bright. I think I made that way too dark the first time through. So I'm going to add like a light greenish color to bring in more highlight on this side. So that will allow this arm to pop a little bit better. I think I need something pretty bright back there. I'm going to add some white with a little touch of blue because I want that a lot brighter. It's still very dull. Let's really build this up some more. A little more thickness. It's not a huge difference, but it is in there. My plan, I'm going to paint over this whole thing, and then I'm going to go in with a rag, and I'm going to do a lot of smearing going in different directions. Okay, we're going to come back. We're going to get some gray that is very green, and we're going to put that in a couple spots to offset some of the red that's in the neck. I think I went a little overboard with the red, but I don't mind because I think that was necessary. I think it helped me figure things out. Oh man, that is so blue. Oh, I don't like that. That is way too blue. Let me try it up here. Oh, super blue. Okay, I'm going to add a little yellow because I didn't realize that my grays were so blue. I mean, they look really green on my palette, but I guess they are not that green and they actually have a lot of blue. And I'm going to blame that on the Viridian. Viridian is the culprit here. Guess it was not as helpful as I thought it was going to be. This is more the color. Okay, we're going to get some of that into here. Oh, that's really bright. It's so green. I'll do it anyway. I'll do it really light. So this is intentionally way too bright because I'm going to go back in and I'm going to change a bunch of spots. But here I'm trying to show the skin. I've been thinking a lot about skin this week because I really truly think I am going to go back to that aging series. Some of you may have seen it. I've been posting it on Instagram, and it's basically a series where I make drawings based on changes in my body that I notice because of aging. And perhaps older folks can help me with this. Sorry, younger folks, you guys are not there yet. You will. Your time will come. I know that's mean. But I was thinking, I feel like a lot of the physical changes right now, they feel like they're a lot about skin. It's like, oh, I noticed some new wrinkles, or I'm noticing this part is sagging a little bit more. And I'm sure there are more things, but it does feel like a lot of it is about skin, like noticing patterns in my skin and how much they change. And I thought, oh, is that like a little gross as a subject? But that's really what it is. It's like I will look at my foot and notice things that were never there before. And that's what's been most noticeable. I mean, maybe as I get older, that will change, but that's where I am right now. And the idea behind doing a project like this is that I will never run out of subject matter because the older I get, the more ways I'm going to see aging, the more time it's going to be visible in what I'm doing. Okay, I feel much better about this. It's just so much red before. But I would rather do too much than not enough, so I'm okay with things heading in that direction. Yeah, we're going to really beef up some of the muted things, patch up some of that red. I am going to come up here and do a little bit while I have this color out, and also so that way this color doesn't take over just the neck area. Because I'm noticing he does have some little bits of skin that go down this way that I think I didn't really get last time. Good. Yeah, I think I was not very selective about where I put the red. I think I should have thought it through a little bit more. But you can see here it's starting to break up some of the red. So the red doesn't feel like it's taking over everything. But jumping around is extremely helpful. It's a great way to make sure you don't lose the cohesion of a piece. And that's why I'm adding the green in several spots right now. Just cools down some of the reds, which I think I have way too many of. Oh, I'm so happy I added that. Ugh, it was so bad before. Just way too much red. And I phoned it in on that hand, and now I'm paying for it. Oh, geez. I really should have spent time painting this better. It's just very confusing what is happening here structurally. And that is totally my fault. It's like sometimes we can't say no to ourselves. You're like, I don't need to do that. And then you're like, yes, I do. Whoops. So all of these spots, they're here to cut back on the saturation. So the saturation doesn't feel quite so dominant. Like one of the things that you can do to make saturated areas feel more saturated would be to go in and add these muted tones, which is what you see me doing right now. Back here at the top, I also did not really work on these wrinkles. I mean, I love the skin that's in this reference. I think it's really beautiful. Plus, Ken and I worked together for years. I mean, I really miss him. He's such a fantastic model. It's like when you work with somebody for so long, and we didn't have to really talk much. Like he would just get up on the stand and I'd be like, yep, do this. And he would know exactly how to do it. If I was working with a model who I didn't know, it's a lot more that I have to explain. But when it's somebody you really know well, you don't have to deal with that so much. And it's nice. I mean, I like working with other models. I'm not saying I don't, but there is a lot to be said when you're working with somebody who really understands what you want without any explanation. And I am going to add, I think I'm going to darken this a little bit. The eye needs so much work, but I think I do need to give it a little bit of a reflective bit there. Okay, let me take a photo of where I am. I know it looks terrible, but I do have plans to make it look not so terrible, because the next step here is going to be going in and getting these greens better integrated. So I'm going to shoot some close-ups. All of you can start to see some of the color relationships that I'm setting up. I'm a big fan of doing way too much and then pulling it back. Okay, these are going into the Discord. Okay, let's see what is happening in the chat. I need like a music stand for my iPad. That would be really nice. You know what I need? I need things that float. They float and then they stay still. That would make it so much easier to set up these live streams. Lisa says, I'm around old folks a lot. It's amazing how young some of them seem. Oh, I think it has nothing to do with your age when it comes to energy level. I mean, sometimes to some degree, but I've met people who are in their 80s and they have way more energy than people I know who are 18. Just depends on your take in life. Jessica Strauss is one of my artist friends. Some of you may have seen the studio visit I did with her, and she's a whole generation ahead of me, but is so sharp and wonderful and I just love talking to her. And I was telling some of the staff, because one of them reached out to me because they were having trouble with some of their work, and so I talked to them. We went through some of the stuff that they were working on, and one of my pieces of advice, I said, listen, you can't talk to your peers all the time. I mean, that's fine. Hang out with them. But you've got to talk to some people who are older. I really think that that should be a requirement. And it makes me wish that there were more opportunities in the US for more interaction like that, because I just really like talking to people who are older than me. It's like they're in a completely different space than somebody who's 21. And I have learned so much from people who are older than me. I just really cherish those relationships. Okay, so it's not just me, Tara. The Jelly Roll pens. Oh, DJ Poopy says Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White. I don't think I've used their drawing inks. I've used their acrylic inks. Their acrylic inks are very good. However, I did like the Sennelier acrylic inks more. But that, I think, is more personal preference. It's not that the Dr. P.H. Martins were bad. I just have gotten very used to the Sennelier ones. I'm so glad, Ginger. Every time I come to an art prof thing, I'm always inspired to create afterwards. That's wonderful. I mean, to me, that's the best takeaway. If I produce content and people feel like they want to get up and do something, I'm so proud of that. Oh, Deleter has a white ink. I think that's the same company that made those manga supplies, the screen tone. Kat got a bunch of them in Japan, but I'd never heard of that brand until Kat told me about the screen tone. Oh, okay. So the white ink is used for manga as opposed to cover even black ink as well. Lisa's asking, how are you choosing the cool versus the warm gray application locations? That's a good question. I mean, right now, everything I'm adding is gray and it's also cool. And I'll come back over it to add other things. I'm not thinking about it at a super nuanced stage. It's more, we have way too much red. It's too bright. It's too dark. We need to cool it off with some of these cooler tints of green, grays, and blue grays. Yeah, see? Sarah says, I'm a teacher. I have no clue what I'm doing sometimes. But to me, that says that you're an active learner. I mean, I know a lot of people who are in professions and they don't want to learn anything new. They want to just clock in, clock out. And that's fine if people want to do that. But I just think if you want to keep evolving as a creative, that is necessary to be putting yourself in a place where you're not sure. Neil is asking, I'm about to paint. Should I paint chicken, duck, or cat? My goal is to practice watercolor. I mean, I've seen you paint a bunch of cats, Neil. I don't think I've seen a duck painting from you. I'm going to say duck because I've been drawing chickens myself, and so I'd like to see another animal tackled. That's question of the stream, Neil. We also have. Okay, so Neil's doing a chicken. Okay, awesome. Whitney's asking if the painting is a commission, does it change the way you paint or the way you think about it or approach it? More or less stressful? Oh, it's stress. I'm sorry for those of you who may be wanting to get into painting commissions. For me, it's 100% stress to the point where I don't try to be creative. All I need to do is satisfy the client. You just do what the client wants. That's it. I just did a video recently about John Singer Sargent's oil painting commissions versus his personal watercolors. You guys can find it. I think I put it out like 2 weeks ago. And it's like it's a different person who painted those oil painting commissions versus the person that did the watercolors. I mean, the watercolors are so personal. They're so beautiful. And the oil paintings are incredible. Don't get me wrong. Sargent oil paintings are extraordinary, but he is a different artist. And you can see that all of that burden of the commission gets lifted. That's it, Courtney. Rag blend for the win. I might also go in with some of my bigger brushes. For example, some of you saw during the marathon that I learned what a mop brush is. Might use this to blend some of those passages in. Selena says, what about military folks? We came out aged 10 years. Oh, well, I'm sure the physical demands of that. I mean, I wouldn't last a day doing all those drill exercises. Angela says, skin, as we age, we dry out. Castor oil and moisturizer could also be hormonal changes. Oh, yes, I am sure that is part of the case. We also have Blue Wren, who says, I think all artists, especially figurative artists, should do some life modeling. Then you can truly understand how hard it is and what is okay to ask of them and what is not. Yes. Or have a good role model, which I had. I had a wonderful professor, Nick Palermo. He really taught me how to work with models. I noticed all the things that he did, how he talked to them, and I learned a lot from that experience. Neil is asking, where can I get good quality sumi brushes? Love it, but it sheds a lot. Want to get a better one. You know something? Yasutomo has pretty good sumi brushes, and they are sending me Silver Point supplies. I'm hoping I will get them next week, but they're a good quality brand. You could try them. Honestly, all the sumi brushes I have, they're because my mom bought them in Taiwan or something. Like I never buy sumi brushes for that reason, but you could try Yasutomo. They're a very nice company. Brittany says, I want to learn new things, just can't get my foot in the door when it comes to graphic design or print shop part-time. 20 hours per week, hopefully making more money than I'm currently making, part-time as a front service clerk bagger at the local Publix to me. It's very hard to get your foot in the door. And depending on the industry, how you get your foot in the door is very different. Sometimes it's a matter of numbers. For example, if you only apply to 2 places, chances are you're probably not going to get both. If you apply to 30 places, your chances do increase, but it is difficult to do. But you know something, one of the biggest issues that I've seen, people don't get specific enough. They don't target the people they're trying to get. We get a lot of questions in the Discord. People will say, well, I want to improve my art portfolio. And I say, well, what is it for? And they're like, oh, it's for fine art. And I'm like, well, even that is not specific enough. Where in fine art? There's a million little pockets in fine art. And even if you say galleries, there's a million different kinds of galleries. And so much of the time, people waste their time because they are trying to woo people who don't do the thing that they want to do. And that's the biggest issue. So a lot of people, they just sort of blanket shoot out all these things, but a lot of it is a waste of time if you have not taken a really clear-cut look. For example, I was thinking at first, oh, maybe I should try editorial illustration, but then I realized after doing a lot of research that, and I followed a bunch of art directors on Instagram because I just wanted to see what they were posting. So much of it was done on Procreate. It was almost all digital. There was very little traditional painting. And I knew that wasn't what I wanted. And so movie posters and Broadway musicals were better because I looked at the artwork in those genres and they had more of that traditional painting. I did find a couple artists who were doing something like that. It's research. That took me a long time to figure out. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's like I had to see what people were making and doing. It took a couple months. There's a lot of research involved that a lot of people really have not taken the time to do. That is extremely important. Let's take a look, everybody, at what is happening in the Discord. Let's do some more shout outs in Show and Tell. Again, this is a channel where you can show your work. You don't have to critique anything, but we do support, lots of support, and also praise on people's pieces. This is Chubby Pikachu. These are from reference images from our photo collection, which is free. This is a panda I saw at the Ueno Zoo in Tokyo. This is Maggie. Maggie was a dog from one of our family members, and Maggie passed away recently. It was really sad. She was so sick, though. That was very, very difficult. But does everybody see here how much people are helping each other? That's the thing. This is not a post and run situation. I know there's a lot of Facebook groups like that. People just post and post. Nobody says anything to each other. This is from Frago. This is a digital piece that Frago did. Really beautiful luminosity in the water. And we also have a drawing from Petra, who is having fun sketching. Oh, I love the line work in this. This is so playful, Petra. This is so great to see. This big range of shapes, simple pencil lines. Art doesn't have to be fancy. It can be just a pencil and paper. This is from Cyro. I believe this is a photograph that Cyro took. Oh, wow. That is so atmospheric. I love how this is super detailed. And then this is super, super blurry. Beautiful atmosphere. It is not common to see a piece with such a gigantic background, but I really like it. I think the gigantic background really shifts the atmosphere. And we also have Pop Dessel, who is doing jelly photo transfer. And of course, we have a tutorial on that. Go to artprofdog.org and look up jelly transfer, and you will find it. And you see this beautiful, almost antique look to what jelly transfers are like. This is from Rambo Commit. And we have a creepy looking figure here. This looks sort of like a bone. I like how rigid that looks. So post your stuff in the Discord because I might just give you a shout out, and I will absolutely highlight a lot of the stuff that people are also doing in the Artalongs channel. Wait, what are you doing, Salinas? Oh, you're... Oh, that's so fun. Look at that weird root system. What's happening in here? Oh, look, it's so pretty. Afterwards, I love that you shared that with us, Salinas. And we also have Courtney, who's working on seals today. Oh, those are so playful. And I really like the form here. Oh, is it marker? It's very beautiful. Almost looks like ink wash. But seeing the range, I think, is very helpful for everybody. Okay, it looks like we've got some shop talk in terms of supplies. Fantastic, everybody. All right. We are going to get back into this. Okay, we're going to do some Let's do a little more painting. I don't really feel like I did enough of that yet. I think I need some of that before. Oh, you know, I didn't put any in the hand. Okay, we need some in the hand. For sure. The hand has a lot. I think the hand in general, it just got very dark. Oh, whoa, that's really dark. Okay, that is not what I want. We want something a lot lighter. Oh, this is not well mixed. Shoot. But we're just trying to cut down. Like up here, this really should be a lot more cool. I'm trying to cut down. I have a lot of this almost Naples yellow color, which I think is not helping me. So I guess the key for today, it's grays and muted colors is what I'm focusing on today. And that's a reaction to all of the very saturated parts I put in last time. So very gray today. Yeah, that's helping quite a bit. I think I'm going to add a little white. A bunch of these grays, they're getting way too dark. So I'm just going to get a big blob of white, stick that in there. And some of this, I'll use a palette knife. My brushes always get super gross if I try to mix large quantities. Palette's getting pretty nasty. This might be too bright, but let me just try it anyway. Because I definitely need something that's lighter. That's super gray. I'm also trying to get some of the wrinkles a little bit more solid. Like there's a whole bunch down here that I really ignored. Yeah, like this shadow is so gigantic. Way too big. Oh yeah, I'm much happier with that. Good. It's not that I want to get rid of things entirely. It's just that I need to cut it back. It's too much. Let's get more of a tinted pink in here. It's like a mild pink. I mean, the thing about the skin here, you have so many textures. It's like the freckles and then the structure of the phalanges, which are the muscles that are in here. This just got really zombie-like. I think there's that new zombie movie with Cillian Murphy, 28 Years Later, which is a follow-up from 28 Days Later, which was a long time ago. Wow, that movie came out, I don't know, 2000s? It's like I'm just realizing, oh my gosh, the 2000s, that was a long time ago, everybody. Like I forgot that that was the case. Okay, let's get some more purples down here. Let me shift my camera because I'm going to work at the very bottom and you guys won't be able to see it if I don't do this. Let's zoom a little bit. Let's see if that works. Okay, now I'm going to get in some of the pinks. I'm going to change to a different brush. Maybe one that's a little bit bigger. Oh, this one's gross though. Too stiff. This one's okay. Okay, this is a filbert. I'm going to add this, it's like this pinkish gray. So it's similar in value to this blue, but it's very muted. I have another one that's a little bit more pinkish. Let me see if that helps at all. So this is a grayish green. This is a pinkish gray. Oh, and I need more highlight on this side. What's funny about this painting and all of the marathon paintings is I'm looking at them and thinking, wow, I've worked on this painting for, I don't know, 8 hours at this point. And I look at it, I'm like, it's not even close. I mean, I suppose maybe if you're a full-time oil painter, you must have figured out some ways for it to not take so long, but this just confirms why I don't oil paint anymore because it just takes so long for it to not look like crap. That's the thing about oil paintings is I think they look so bad for so long that it really does look like you're not doing anything. And you know something? I don't think that's the case with other materials. I don't feel that way about drawing. How many people think that's a oil painting thing? I mean, I know not everybody here has used oils before, but there's something about oils. Like I think out of all the things that I have learned, all the techniques, oil is the one that took me the longest to get a grip on. I really did feel like I was bad at it for a very, very long time, like much longer than something like drawing. Okay, so that brings things down a bit. And maybe some of this blue, I'm going to cut some of that blue with a little bit of pink. But I think that is helping. I think this is a lot less red. And ultimately, hopefully what this does, oh, geez, that was too dark. Wipe that down. Ultimately, I do want to do the refined stuff. It's just this stuff takes forever. All right, we need something brighter. I think the hands are just, they're way too dark. Oh my gosh. Let's go back to some of that lighter blue gray color. Get some of that gray in here and really cut back on the red in the hand. Oh, and I'm missing this whole spot on top of the finger is like gone. So some of this is me coming in here and redrawing a lot of things. And then I probably will have put too much muck on here. I'll have to go back in and add yet another pass of some saturated colors, but that's how it works. It's a back and forth when you're making work like this. I just noticed there's some reflected light here. I also would like to get these wrinkles at the very least just closer. I feel like I barely touched them last time and they're a little bit of a mess. Yeah, the fingers they're weird to begin with. That they don't look that good in the photo, and so sometimes it's hard to gauge, okay, well, where do I really go with this? Okay, now he's starting to look a little corpse-like. I'm gonna come back in here and add some more patches. Let's go back to the green. I think the green would be helpful. I feel like especially in the mouth, it gets very dull. Something about the color, this whole part of his face, just in general, is not as pinkish. And that's why I'm going to build in quite a bit of green in here. So then the green can segue into some of the red. And let's also do more here on the neck, because I want to make this connect better. I feel like the chin it's too disconnected, and I really want it to feel like it flows from one thing into the next. And that's where that is coming from. Here too, I see quite a bit of pink at the bottom. We're going to go in and, because what the pink does is it maintains the reddishness and it breaks up some of the green. But remember, I am going to go over this with a rag in a little bit. There is a logic to what I'm doing right now. I am setting myself up to do something very specific. Of course, now part of me is like, oh, I want to add highlights. But I will later. I'll bring them back. That's what I do a lot in painting. It's like I'll do something and then I have to bring it back because I got rid of it in the process. That's fine. That's oftentimes the way it works. Okay, I think it's rag time, everybody. All right. Let me zoom out and then all of you can see a little bit better what's happening all over. Oh, I should take a photo for the Discord so you can see the muddy mess my painting has become. Mess is good, though. And I'll do some close-ups also so everybody can see that better. Oh, yeah, he's looking rather corpse-like right now, especially in the bottom of the hand. Oh, man, that is like serious zombie color. Right now, the contrast seems a little bit ridiculous, but you'll see in a minute when I start adding things, it's going to make a lot more sense. Okay, this is all going into the Discord. Hope some of you are getting in there to see what I am adding. Because as much as you can see stuff on the live, I think it is very different when you can zoom in the Discord. Okay. This already has some medium in it. I might add just a little more so we get a little more flow. To be clear, this is not just a perfectly clean rag. There's oily stuff in it, and it makes it easier for things to get blended in. All right, let's get right into this. And you know something? I'm not going to look at the references much. I'm going to just see what I think works. A lot of this is about softening the edges. There could be some spots where I get rid of it altogether, but I am thinking a lot about edge. Yeah, like here, there's a whole shadow that I painted right on top of. So this is a spot where I am going to go and I'm going to just remove it because I don't want that to get in the way. Now here, I took away too much. I'm going to press pretty hard. Bring some of that back. And then I'm going to take a clean brush like this. Actually, let me put a little bit of oil medium on this so it flows a little bit more. Okay, and let's see how we can get this to blend a little better. A lot of it is, okay, the rag takes away quite a few things, and then the brush is able to get things to really sink. Like here, I'm going to change the direction of some of that stuff. Let's go back to the rag. You can see now that area no longer looks horrible and blunt. So I'm going to take a photo of that. Actually, you know what I should do? I should do one spot and then do a before and after. Okay, how about let's do that. Let's do that here. Okay, so I'll take a photo of that one spot and we will work on it with some rag, and then you'll be able to see what the difference is in that area. Okay, again, this is going into the Discord in the Art Alongs channel, and I highly encourage all of you to get in there because the Discord is awesome. Okay, this is before, and then we'll do an after with the rag. All right, oil medium onto my rag. And this, I'm going to take a closer look with the iPad. Okay, now this vein, I got to make that brighter because that vein is pretty important. I'm going to make it like a light pinkish. It's going to be a little bit bigger. I think it's a little too small right now. There are all these other little bits of wrinkles here too. Actually, I'm going to add a lot more wrinkles. We're going to add too many. These are all overlapping. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to do some rag stuff. Ugh, it's way too much. I gotta really lift that. Tell me in the comments, for those of you who paint, do you paint with a rag? Or are you more a brush person? Because you know something, I only paint with a rag when it's oil painting. With acrylics, I don't do it. It really depends on the material. Mostly because if I tried to do this with acrylic, it would dry way too fast. Like there's no way I could keep that up. So here in a couple spots, I'm pushing the green around and it makes a little bit of a glaze-like effect. And that could be something that I rub in more with a brush. Because a lot of these spots, the highlights are way too big. And now I'm just cutting in between them like this. Right now, not really looking at the reference. There is a lot of paint. I wish I'd use less paint, actually. I need a really nice clean rag to do this. Yeah, and you can see down here, I'm actually going to take some of the paint and sort of stretch it across. This will give us a better sense of all those wrinkles. You can see I'm losing a lot of the value, but I can always put that back. I think this rag is too dirty. I got to get another one. Let me do some comments, and then I'll do some more rag. We have a question from Starving Artists when you are not doing a stream about how long would it say 16 by 20 inch oil painting? I mean, what is this, double? I mean, I actually don't think it would take that much less time because I don't think the size, unless it's like way bigger, necessarily determines how long it takes. It probably would take me about the same amount of time. It's all the layers that I do. They just take such a long time. Brian says, I love Scott Joplin if you're going to play ragtime. Yes, the 1990s seem like yesterday. Although now 80s is like vintage. I'm like, great. We also have this from George. Anything worth doing is worth doing to excess. You mean like watching Hugh Jackman movies? Oh my gosh. Opening night, Hugh Jackman's show, Radio City Music Hall. It's happening right now. And it's sold out. And the worst tickets, like the back row, were like 300. I was like, I don't think so. The good tickets were like 1,000 at least. Yes, I am crying very hard that I was not able to afford going there. That was so sad. Harry says, I only have 2 brushes I use. I don't really use a rag, but it looks interesting. Yeah, it's a different workflow for sure. And honestly, sometimes I feel like half the reason I'm using rags is because I don't feel like I'm very good at brush work. So the rag sort of gets me out of certain situations. Okay. Yeah, there's way too much paint. I wish I had made the paint a lot thinner. I'm sort of paying for that right now. Okay. Oh, I was going to get a new rag. Hang on. It's right here. I feel very prepared and on top of it. Although, you know what I did today? I was so proud that I got through all my stuff, comments on the workshops, critiques in the art club. I just like burned through that stuff today. I was very happy and proud of myself because sometimes that takes a really long time. But I was very efficient today. And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna finally finish up that graphite tutorial that I've been working on all week. I'll get it released. I need to film these 2 things. And guess who took a nap instead? I stayed up really late last night. So I was very, very tired all day. And I think I sat down to have lunch on the couch and it was like all over. Once I did that, oh yeah, I had no chance of getting out of that situation. Ugh, I don't like how it's getting really swirly. Not sure I like that. Because I do want there to be some areas that feel sort of taut. I think that is important with skin because some skin is saggy, some of it is very taut. Yeah, I'm finding I need to remove a lot. I think there's definitely way too much paint here. Because I am losing, there's some values here that I think are necessary, like this one here. And probably what I'll do next, once this dries, is I'll put another layer of glaze, bring back some of the value, which I'm getting rid of right now. Okay, so that removes some of that spot. And maybe I'll go in and add a little bit of dark in here. Oh, that's not dark enough. Let me add a little burnt umber. Oh, my burnt umber is dry. Because I do think this particular vein is pretty important. So I want it to pop a little better. So that burnt umber will help me. Here, I'm really losing the shadow, so I think this whole area needs to get scrubbed down. That shadow is very important, and I think I'm losing it right now. Okay, so we brought back that shadow. And now we're going to come back and fix up some of these greens. I really do need to rub them all in because it's going to be a huge pain to fix. So actually, let me jump around a little more. And I'm going to do it more quickly so I'm not stuck in one area. And then I'll come back and do another pass. Yeah, he really does look a little corpse-like in a bunch of these spots. Sorry, dude, you're not doing very well. Yeah, see, now I took away too much of the bright yellows. I have to put them back. But this is necessary. It's a back and forth. Like, make it muted, make it bright again, bring back the muted colors. Actually, you know what I think is the most clear-cut sign of aging in some cases is when you watch a movie and the actors look very different. Because there's some actors I feel like they just have always looked the same. Like George Clooney, he looks the same to me. I'm sure he is not the same. It's just in my head, he's sort of the same age all the time because he always had gray hair. Like he wasn't super popular when he was 18, right? And so in my mind, that's just the age he is. But okay, you know who really aged a lot in a very visible way was Russell Crowe. Did anybody here see the Gladiator movies? So I was a little obsessed with that movie. It wasn't because of Russell Crowe. I just love the Roman Empire. That's all. But anyway, yesterday I was watching TV and I was like, oh, LA Confidential is on Netflix. I think I'm going to watch that. I haven't seen that movie in a long time and I knew it was really good. Plus, I like Guy Pearce, who is in that film, The Brutalist, which I'm excited to see as well, with Adrian Brody. So I'm watching LA Confidential. I'm looking at Russell Crowe. I'm like, okay, you do not look like that anymore, Russell Crowe. Like it was so visibly like he looked like a different person. And so I think sometimes when you see the aging through a celebrity, it just becomes like this time capsule where you realize, oh wow, a lot of time has passed. But then there's other people who just look better as they age. Hugh Jackman still looks amazing, even though he's definitely older than me. He's like 50 something. I mean, aging is weird in that way because then you also think about people like James Dean. James Dean passed away when he was very young. I mean, what was he, in his 20s? He was so young. And so, of course, we have that phrase forever young because we never saw him age. That was just something that didn't happen. I think this green is a little too big. I'm going to really, because I think I lost the red. I want the red back. Yeah, he's looking really muddy right now, but that's all right. That's temporary. Everything is temporary. What I'm doing in the painting is leading to something else. Sometimes people see me painting stuff and they're like, that's a weird decision. I'm like, don't worry, it's not staying that way. I think that's better. Let's work down here. I think this still needs more. You know who has aged very well? John Slattery. If you don't know who I'm talking about, he was in Mad Men. He was Roger. First of all, I love Roger in Mad Men. He was so good. But I mean, he looks great as an older person. I don't remember seeing him in anything when he was super young, but I'm like, okay, you look amazing at your age. Like, I don't know, something about that actor. He's sort of like a secondary crush. Like, if he's around, I love him, but I don't try. to go out of the way to watch his movies. You know, like Hugh Jackman, I will watch anything he's in. Who here has an actor or actress where you're like, okay, no matter how bad the movie, I'll watch it because that actor or actress is in it. I also feel that way about Cate Blanchett. Anything she's in. And she's going to be in a movie with Michael Fassbender. I'm freaking out about that. Two of my favorite actors in the same film. I don't know how my brain's going to handle that concept. See, this is the type of thing. You can't do this if you don't layer. And I know some people really like painting alla prima, but I really like the control I get from being able to make changes without like ruining something or feeling like I have to paint it entirely from scratch. Because I do think sometimes that's the issue with painting, is that people do feel like they have to repaint all the time. And it's like, no, if you paint in layers, there's actually not a lot you repaint. You really get to take advantage of the stuff that was underneath to begin with. Okay, I'm going to do a little more in here. I feel like I really am losing some of these strokes that are important. Hope you guys are having fun in the Discord. I always love going in and seeing the conversations afterwards. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves in there, because I do think that one thing that most artists struggle with is we really want to be seen. And the Discord is a great way to do that because people are supportive. If they're jerks, we boot them out. I'm very good at doing that. And I think you will find that people there are very supportive. Yeah, now it looks like really muddy. This is kind of killing me because I really want to go back and fix everything, but I know that I need this process to get me to where I want to be. But I think it is bringing in some more depth. This was very flat before. It is making everything very gray, but you know it'll be super fun is when I get to put a glaze of like cadmium red over this. Oh, that's going to be amazing. So the choices I make at this stage are informed by the next. I'm going to do a little bit more pink. I feel like I lost a lot of the pink that was in here. Got very purpley gray down here at the bottom. So some of this pink is going to bring some of that back. It's getting there. Still a lot of work to do. All right, let's see what people are saying in the chat. Oh, and I got to do an update for everybody to see where we are. Looking a little corpse-like. Oh, and I was going to shoot that comparison so everybody can see the before and after with the rag. Okay, let me get that in first. And then you can see better how some of that green got integrated. All right. Put that in the Discord. Okay, so the first image I'm going to post, this is the one that shows the part after I added the rag. And then I will post the big one and the details. So let me show you guys that comparison so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, now if we come in here, oh, Butter did a pepper. Oh, I really like the structure, Butter. And those tasty little highlights. Oh, and I love the frosty blue. That really breaks up the oils. I believe you. Only halfway done. Beautiful medium, but takes unimaginable patience. Let's take a look. Oh, you did so well with the flush tones. Like, you really feel how soft that is. And then the background is so stark. It's a really eye-catching image. It's like it sort of startles you when you look at it, Harry. That's great. Salinas, magenta, purpley, and white. Oh, I love these. Look at how delicate they are. What a great way to look at colors. That's another reason to come into the Discord, is that you can zoom in on things. You can see things way better. Manette says, starting to run out of steam. Not sure if I'm just uninspired or exhausted. Oh, well, if you're at the hospital for 6 hours, wow, that's a long time. Great to see this. Yeah, because in art club, Manette and I were talking about the brainstorming process, and looks like you have got things going. Okay, now the two things. Oh, looks like I popped up in Lisa's sketch. I love it. I like my hair. You made my hair very volumetric. Okay, this is the part. This is before I did any of the rag work. You can see the colors are very distinct. Now, if we come over here and whose bread is that? Oh man, Marta, that is amazing. Oh my gosh, wow. Oh, look at that crunch. Ah, beautiful. The only other thing to me that's as important as art is delicious food. Okay, let's look at the version. Oh, Butter is doing your cat in 15 strokes. Oh, I totally know that's a cat. That's great. I hope that's helping maybe create another point of view in terms of how you're making marks, Butter. Okay, which spot was it? I think it was this one. Okay, it's not quite the right spot. Let me see if I can. Okay, that's the spot. Let me take a better photo that matches the spot, and then you guys can see a lot better what it is I am doing. I'm going to try to get it to about the same spot. Okay, so now I'm going to post that exact same spot, and then we'll be able to see the difference. All right, so does everybody see? This is the before, where we have muddy strokes that are very gray, and I didn't put in the rag. And now this is the same thing, where I took oil medium and a rag and really moved the paint around. You can see it's a very different experience, and it has also made the piece a lot more cohesive. Now I'd have to go back. I have to bring back some of the darks, maybe couple patches of the cadmium red, because this is now looking too pink, but it just needs more passes. So you sort of go back and forth. But let me show you also more of the glaze areas so you can see what those differences are. Because now what I have is muddy glazes. The last pass was all very bright glazes. Now these are very muddy. Okay, here's another spot. These are the wrinkles. And if you look closely, you can see how much variation there is. And then look at those colors. So this is the green, and down here, this is all very muddy, but it leans pink. And so you have green here, pink here, and that's your complementary color pair. Okay, so this one we looked at. This one we looked at. Okay, so here, look at this little patch of green. It's right next to a pink. And I did some here too. So this is a grayish green that's going over some of that dark viridian. This is the mouth. You can see the mouth had these very, very bright cadmium reds, but then I brought in a lot of green on top of it. And down here, this is a glaze. So this was a dark color on top, a muddy gray over it. And you can start to see the transparency is building up, and it's making the painting easier to see depth. Same thing here. So in this one spot, you have different degrees of saturation. This is very gray. This is very red, very green. This is dark. It's almost a dark brown. And that's the type of variation that I would like to have. I just really like looking at close-ups. Super fun. Starving Artist says, your close-up photos make great abstract paintings in their own right. Yeah, is it a bad thing that sometimes I like it better than the actual painting itself? Let me get a photo of the painting in here for everybody to take a look at. Does everybody see how incredibly muddy it looks right now? You can see so much of the cadmium red got covered up and how green his mouth looks right now. I did do a little bit of redrawing on the fingers, but you can see I've dulled it up quite a bit. Before this was all like cadmium red. Now it's all these more muted purples, especially down here. I added quite a bit of that. I hope this is helpful for everybody to see the close-ups on the stream, because it is very different when you are seeing it on the live stream. I think you definitely get to see something that is more clear. Paul Rudd. Oh yeah, he has a swell. He's so cute. Also, Harry says, love your brushwork. Doesn't pick up in the stream, but in photos, it looks rich and confident. Oh, good, because I don't feel confident. I feel like I'm better, absolutely, than I was a long time ago, but I still feel like I'm not as daring as some painters. Some painters who are just like jumping off the cliff, and that's not really something I know how to do. No. LIEU'S. Okay, that was my perfect storm of men. Okay, Aaron Tveit, Eddie Redmayne, and Hugh Jackman. All three of them are in LIEU'S. I nearly died when I saw that movie. Oh, and Harry explains, image you've been painting is of your sister. I don't really think I've painted my siblings before. I guess it never really occurred to me. Yeah, I don't really try to get my family involved with my artwork, subject matter-wise. It's just a little close. I know some people have made really wonderful work about family, but it's not really a topic that I've really dug into. Lisa is asking, instead of adding another layer, why not pull off more gray selectively? I don't understand. It's just the building, more and more layers. You create more depth. I could certainly pull out more gray, but the thing is, now I have cadmium red, gray in the middle, and cadmium red on top. So it's this beautiful cadmium red sandwich that has gray in between. You may be covering up with those layers, but I really do believe that they're in there. And that's why whenever I look at a Rembrandt painting, I'm like, oh my God, that's like 500 layers. Like, there's no way he could have gotten that depth with just even 10 layers. Probably would not even have been sufficient. Remember, to everybody, we do have spots open in our cloud workshop. We also have creature design coming up, and that is a workshop Jordan will be teaching. Also, experimental printmaking and loosen up your art. These are opportunities to work with me for 2 weeks, plus audio critiques that come with transcripts, and also a 3-hour live session. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.